I'm presenting the paper on the topic Beyond the Norm, an analysis of the film Njan Merikutti by Ranjit Shankar. Njan Merikutti is a groundbreaking Malayalam film released in 2018, directed by Ranjit Shankar, starring Jayasuriya, playing the role of Merikutti, a transgender woman. This film focuses on the gender identity and the portrayal of transgender experiences. The film explores the complex journey of Merikutti as she navigates the challenges of social prejudices, discrimination, and self-discovery. This deals into the various aspects of gender identity portrayed in the movie, including the internal struggles as well as the external struggles faced by a transgender individual. This movie also shows the portrayal of a transgender characters in Indian cinema. Njan Merikutti serves as a powerful vehicle to challenge the prevailing stereotypes and advocates for the rights and dignities of the transgender individuals. Gender is a social construct which has the characteristics of men, women, girls and boys which are socially constructed. As a social construct, gender varies from society to society and can change over time. The genders other than men and women are quoted under third genders. Gender inequality is a social phenomenon in which people are not treated equally on the basis of their gender. There are many different gender identities including male, female, transgender, gender neutral, gender queer, two-spirit, third genders, etc. The word queer is an umbrella term which is used to represent people as gay, lesbian, bisexual, intersex, transgenders, etc. Queer theory is a field of queer studies which was emerged in the late 1990s. The idea of queer theory is that all identities are socially constructed. The ideas of male and female are just as much the product of representation of masculinity and femininity. The main idea of queer theory is heteronormativity, and the transgender is one of the groups that comes under queer. Transgenders are diverse in their gender identities, gender expressions and sexual orientation. There are two types of transgenders, trans men and trans women. Transgenders all over India and all over the world faces so many discrimination and humiliation. Some of the major problems faced by transgenders in India are marginalization and social exclusions. We can also see that the representation of transgenders in Indian cinemas. They are identified as a sort of brief cameo characters like a song dancer performed during a chorus or within the characters of an effeminate prisoner. In Bollywood films featuring a transgender person, even in a minor role, two disturbing polarities of representation find their way. In Bollywood filmmakers, they don't have a correct view of what are transgenders. So, they used to portray these transgenders in Malayalam film as wild, unpleasantly dressed, loud characters with exaggerated feminine body language and gestures. They are either to beg or solicit sex. The depiction become more offensive as most of the roles are performed by male actors who are dressed up as transgender person. In the film Njan Merikutti, it focuses on a transgender and their life. The movie was widely accepted in the society. The movie focuses on how transgenders are less familiar in the society but notable in news stories. It deals with a situation where a child is born with society and surrounding environments around him and how they influence in shaping his personality. This movie draws the life of Merikutti, who fights against the society with disgust and fear to gain her rights. The movie is highlighted by a section of society where the transgender community used to previously marginalized. In the film Njan Merikutti, the protagonist through a male does not feel any shame in revealing her true identity as a woman. Whereas in real life, we can see that people are afraid to reveal their true identity in fear of society. The movie tells the difficulties faced by a transgender to achieve their dream, the emotional and physical trauma she has to face through in a patriarchal society as a transgender. The movie also shows the discrimination, cruelty and humiliation she has to face from the society and the inhumane practice of police officers as well as the society's people towards her for being a transgender. She fought against the injustice people had done to her and was able to set up a respectable position in the society. In this film, Mathukutti has realized his true self and wants to lead his life as she wants as a woman. So, he left his house to perform a sex reassignment surgery where Merikutti returned to her native place. She faced gender stereotype, harassment and prejudices from the society as well as from her family. In a patriarchal society where people believe in patriarchal gender concept where they only accept cisgenders or heterosexual, she was harassed and humiliated by the society's people for being a transgender. There are so many instances in the film where she was insulted and harassed by both her family and by the society for being a transgender. We can see instance where she was humiliated by a group of people and also by the police officer for being a transgender. Families who should support her also humiliates her and disowns her for being a transgender. This film is clearly an example of transgender life, how they are treated by the society, the harassment, discrimination, insult, denial of their rights, etc. are clearly shown in this film. Through the history of Malayalam cinema spans over the last decades, the slightest reference regarding queer depictions can be traced from the 1970s only. The film focuses on LGBT issues in Malayalam cinemas are less in number. In this film, we can see that transgender characters is actually played by a cisgender person. Not only in this film, but most of the film, the roles of transgenders are played by cisgenders or heterosexuals. Even though they are capturing the life of a transgender, the actors representing them are actually cisgenders. We can also see that in most of the transgender films, they are portraying the life of transgender women than trans men. So, I conclude my paper presentation by saying that some positive changes to the transgender community can be seen after the release of these films, even though there are not much changes. Some of the possibilities of the employment vacancies and the society's interest in helping transgender to go out and attain job can be seen after the coming of these films. Thank you.